joining me live today. Ladies, we have a very, very interesting topic to talk about. Oh my, I've been, I would say for the past 3 days, I've been checking the calendar for today's event because I've been doing a lot of research, and one of the things that has come up for me is understanding the root cause into some of the issues that women are struggling with in the workplace. Beneath all of this whole, yeah, you should do this, yes, we should do that, what is the problem? Like, why are women having these issues? So I've kind of gone a little bit in a tangent there, and I've just been like uncovering some deep stuff that I want to talk to you guys about today. And my goal for today is that you take this lesson and apply it in not just your professional life, but also your private life, okay? Because it is applicable to any area of your life where you are struggling with being able to manage your emotions, you're having outbursts, you're just like, people call you crazy, you're being labeled as difficult and stuff like that. That's the goal of today. Okay, so welcome in, ladies. I am super happy to see you. So if you are watching me live, whether that's on Facebook or you're listening to me on LinkedIn, type Think Live in the chat. If you are listening or watching this from the replay, type Team Replay. Welcome in everyone. Today is another reason why today is so, special is because I feel like a lot of the trainings that I've done has been for my primary audience. And then I get this long email from someone in HR telling me about how they've been watching my content and how they appreciate the information I'm sharing. And I'm like, wait, what's going on here? And then, we have a conversation and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh my, okay, this is very interesting. And it's also interesting because I do work with HR teams off thread too. But in my live trainings, I was primarily focusing on talking to my audience, right? The women I coach. And it was it was very humbling to see that email. I was like, okay, sure. Why don't I bring you guys into the conversation? After all, you are the ones that are helping foster some of the things that I talk about to help women. So welcome in everyone. Welcome in. I'm super, super happy to see you. If this is the first time that you're hearing of me, whether it's you saw a video of mine, you read a post of mine, you watched a reel of mine, you are welcome. My name is AB, and I'm a life coach. So I help women who are feeling overwhelmed, burned out, stressed out in the workplace. I help them have balance in their life. And one of the root causes, each time I'm on a coaching call with a woman, one of the reasons that led her to reach out to me is because of the issue that I'm going to be talking about today. Yes. So what usually happens is the woman is, she's leading a team, she's leading her division, she's leading a function, and then something happens. So she has what I call a boo-boo moment, right? So she makes a boo-boo. For those of you who have children, you know what it means when they say a child has a boo-boo, right? So she makes what I call a boo-boo moment, and then she's stuck and doesn't know how to fix it. And then she finds one of my videos talking about, women in corporate, take care of yourself and stuff like that. And then she reaches out to me and says, oh, your video, talk to me, this is what I'm struggling with. And then we have a conversation, and she tells me a scenario that just played out in her life and how she did not know how to handle that. So typically that's the flow that I get. You guys just give me a second here. I want to grab some water and then I'll continue. Okay, so that's the scenario that usually takes place. And when we, start working together and we start, addressing the issues and challenges that she has, one of the root causes that makes, I would say, one of the largest ripple effects is she learning how to manage stressful situations when there's a higher likelihood of her having an outburst. Learning how to manage her emotions in the presence of a stressful situation is one of the key life-changing moments that usually takes place in the women that I work with. And so I went back because I too suffered with this. I'm going to tell you guys my story, but I went back and I've been doing some research. Like, what is it about the importance of being the kind of person that can stay cool, calm, and collected? Like, why is this so important? Why is this so critical, especially for women? What is it? What is this whole thing? Like, why is it that when a woman learns how to manage her emotions, all of a sudden now people have amnesia about the issues that we're having with her? All of a sudden people forget that this woman used to be difficult. Yes, I know, it's like magic. It's like I just put up a wand. I'm like, manage your emotions, and her life changes. And you guys, I'm not kidding, because like this also happened to me as well. And so from my research, I started discovering, oh, so this is the thing that every woman has in her. Nobody taught me this thing that I'm about to tell you guys. I had to learn it the hard way, and then I transformed myself and then started helping women, and I still didn't get it until I did this research. And so what am I talking about? What are we talking about, Amy? Okay. So growing up, I had heard that a woman's number one need is a feeling, to have a feeling of security, to feel safe, to feel secure. And so when something bad happens, especially for women, that need is eroded. And when that need is no longer there, more problems emerge. And so I had heard it growing up, like, you know, women need to feel safe and secure. Everybody does need to feel secure, but especially women. But nobody explained to me why. Like, why is it so important that a woman feels safe and secure in any kind of relationship, whether that's work, whether that's romantic relationships, whether that's friendships, whether that's with her children? She needs to feel safe, because if she does not feel safe, things start to malfunction. Okay, so why is this so important, ladies? I promise you, this is the root cause of all the problems that you have. Well, most of the problems. If you can master this and take personal responsibility for this, I have stuff that I'm going to talk to the HR folks that are watching this live. I have stuff for them too. But if you can't take personal responsibility for this, it'll change your life. People will see you differently. People will think you fell from heaven. People will say, oh my gosh, see, she's so professional. I just trust her. I feel like I can trust her. I feel like she's so authentic. People will be recommending you for promotions. Yes, people will be pulling you into what I call those tito-tato meetings. What are the tito-tato meetings? Tito-tato meetings, by the way, these are words that I made up just to explain stuff. Okay. Tito-tato meetings are those secret Facebook. I hope I'm still live. Okay. All right. So tito-tato meetings are meetings where people will just send you like a Slack message or a Teams message and say, hey, can you step into this meeting for a moment? I need your I want to pick your brain, right? The people who usually pull you into these tito-tato meetings are people who have so much influence in your organization that you're working for. Or they're people who have the power to do or make or do and help you move up in your career. So that's what I call tito-tato meetings. And oftentimes, women don't get these invitations to these meetings because there's no trust and connection that has been built with these people. Now, I know that within the past years, they've been talking about building allies and stuff like that. That's where that initiative came from. But what I'm seeing is that many women still don't get it. They still feel left out. You guys, I'm just making sure that you guys can see me and hear me well. Okay. So they still feel left out of the conversation, but there are initiatives that have been put forward in many workplaces to promote allyship, right? So it's almost like people are trying to do their best and women are still complaining. So where's the gap? Why are we not filling that gap, right? And so as I was doing my research, I realized that psychologists, I talked about it last week, so psychologists talk about our perception being reality and determines everything that we see. And so no matter how much allyship we talk about, how much, we're promoting women or stuff like that, if a woman does not feel safe, she cannot connect with people. Cannot. Let me repeat that. If a woman does not feel safe, she cannot connect with you. Literally. And so, where does this stem from? So, evolutionary psychologists have talked about the primary fears that men and women have. Okay? And based on these fears, they drive their primary motivations for everything that we do. Whether you choose to admit it or not, yes, I'm putting it there because before I read all this research and stuff like that, I used to push back against information like this. But whether you choose to admit it or not, these needs are in your DNA. Doesn't matter what country you live in, doesn't matter what culture you come from, doesn't matter what industry you work in, doesn't matter what race you are, doesn't matter what language you speak. DNA, ladies. It's in your DNA, it's in my DNA, and that's what connects us. And these fear, they said the primary fear that women have is tied to what they call parental investment. Are you with me? Okay. And they say that because we have evolved as humanity to pretty much prioritize two things. Number one, survival. Number two, reproduce. Okay? Everything that we do, according to them, everything that we do is tied to these two needs. And the fears are tied to these needs as well. So for women have a fear of being abandoned. Let me repeat that. Women have a greater fear of being abandoned. And so what happens is that when women are put in situations where the events resemble what could feel like abandonment, you cannot ask a woman to control her emotions in those situations. You cannot. You can't even control your emotions. Because I feel like I need to address that as well. Because if you understand how emotions are generated, you cannot control your emotions. You can manage them. You can respond to them. You can be aware of them. But the process needs to move so that it's not stuck in your body. Because if it's stuck in your body, it can actually cause you to be sick. That's why we have people with so much traumatic history and just acting out like something is wrong with them. Those are visible signs of emotions that are stuck in them and have not been released. Okay? So I want us to change that vocabulary. Okay? I try not to use it in my marketing and in my videos, but on a biological level, you cannot control your emotions. They need to move. Energy in motion. All right. Let's park that thought. Let's go back to the fear. And so because women have this psychological fear of abandonment, they tend to respond, their response to triggers that can trigger this fear is higher. It's higher. Now, where does this fear of abandonment come in? It's tied to the concept that I talked about, parental investment. So in the days of our forefathers, the cavemen and cavewomen, they did good for us, didn't they? They did. In those days, right, women were primarily responsible for child rearing, right? Of course, okay? Men were responsible for doing the providing and the protecting, okay? Now, because women didn't have that luxury of going to provide for themselves, so they relied heavily on not just the men, but the community to be able to provide that security, that safety, not just for them, but also for their offspring. Another part to parental, why women have this fear, is another part to it is that it costs them more, they invest more in the offspring in comparison to like the man, right? Especially in those days. Now things are changing, but in those days and in those times, the men will go out to go find food, right? Shelter, they want to provide for the women. The women invest more, they have 8-9 months of pregnancy, then they have years after that, at least 3 to 4, what am I saying? Well, now it's 18 years, but they have years after that where they're dedicating their time, their body, everything to making sure that this offspring survives. Like, human babies are very expensive, and not even in the expensive way that you guys think in terms of, well, that's true, providing for them. But energetically, human babies are one of the most expensive offsprings ever on earth. So they take more time and energy to make sure that they're brought up properly and they survive. You're probably scratching your head. AB, how is this related to emotional intelligence? How is that? All right. So because your energy, your time, your body, your resources is demanded more in raising a child, and also the fact that you didn't have the luxury that time to provide for yourself, there is a fear that if the person that's providing for you leaves you, then your offspring, that's your children, are not going to survive. Remember that I said the two primary motivations that our mother and father, our forefathers and mothers had was, number one, to survive. Number two, to reproduce, pass on their genes. So that's where that fear heightened for women. So how is this playing out for a lot of women in modern day world? If you're brave enough, how many of you here listening to me right now know women that are financially secure, like absolutely doing exceptionally well in their careers? Like, they're breathtaking, they're doing good, they're getting promotions. However, they're stuck in relationships that they should never have entered and have refused to leave. How many of you, I know many people in my own circle. How many of you know women like that? You're constantly telling them, what are you doing with this guy? Like, you're so much better than him. Like, you can totally do better, but she cannot lead. How many of you, if you're brave enough to even put your hands up, how many of you have been in situations, not just romantic relationships, but situations with either toxic friendships or any type of relationship that is no longer working for you, but you stay there longer and you don't know why? You don't know why. Or is it at work? You keep quiet and suck it up and continue to stay silent and suffer in misery, but you don't know why. Like, sometimes when I'm hearing some of these things that women tell me, my mouth is open. I'm like, I thought I had it bad. Well, not because I had it bad because I wasn't authentic to myself, right? I enjoyed the places that I've worked have been good to me, but my own case was my responsibility. I wasn't doing good to myself. Now, I thought I had my own case bad, but when I hear these things, I'm like, what's going on here? That's why when women tell me, no, the workplace this, the workplace that, I could come here and tell you guys, regurgitate all that stuff, but I'm like, we need to we need to start to take and peel the layers back into how we as women can start to help ourselves first. Let's start to help ourselves first. And this is where knowledge like this will help you. Will help you. So back to that need and fear of abandonment. Birds know this. Other people know this. The people that actually know this information are people that use it to take advantage of women. Yes, they know this. Predators know this. So they purposely use and say things that would trigger this fear in you, and then you can be controlled after. When I read about it, I was just like, and it was a humbling moment for me, because I feel like, when you guys listen to my videos or you attend a training of mine, I feel like sometimes you guys may think I'm perfect. I am not. I teach from my mistakes. And I still make them. And even after years of doing this work and still learning, I'm still recovering more. I'm like, oh my gosh. But what I've learned, and I'm learning, and I'm telling you guys today, is as you listen to this, start to evaluate places in your life where this fear is playing out, and it has caused you to not take action, which I'm going to talk about my next point. It has caused you to remain where you are and continue to suffer, whether that's work, whether that's personal relationships. You are suffering because of this fear. So you are so afraid of being left. You're so afraid of being excluded. That's why women have first of all, it's a very natural human need to want to feel like you belong where you are. It's a natural need. We need that, okay? But I have had the privilege of working with both men and women. And I work more with men, by the way, because of the industry that I work in. And I see the way they react to certain things. I see the way women react to certain things. And I'm like, these are two different reactions to the same stimuli. What's going on here? What's going on here? And then, of course, I'll go do my little research. It's like, why are women doing like this? And I start to peel the layers, and I start to dig a little deeper. And so I have experienced situations where, people maybe will invite me to the teeter-totter meetings that I talked about, right? They will invite me to those meetings. They don't invite the other people on my team. And then the reverse happens. The other people don't take it personal. But then in the past, of course not now, but in the past, oh my gosh, I would have vented, complained, they're being unfair, they're being targeted. And I'm like, why is that? Why is that? Remember, it's a natural need to want to feel accepted, want to feel seen and heard. But women react differently. We take it on a personal level. If you exclude a woman from a certain circle, it's personal now. It's not business. It's not professional. It's personal. You're coming after her. And part of that reaction is because of this need. It's because of that fear. Because of this fear of not wanting to be abandoned. It sounds so interesting, so simple, but I'm like, oh my gosh, this explains why some women act the way they do. And because we are on the outside looking in, we don't know what's going on. It's easy to criticize them. How could you do this? How could you do that? But when your DNA is driving the actions that you take, it's hard to control it. So when you exclude, the example that I gave, when you exclude a woman from opportunities like that, or you don't invite her to events, or I've even heard cases, or you have cliques where people are talking by themselves and she feels left out, even though nobody said anything. Deep down inside, I've seen women have told me, and I've been in groups where women are complaining about things like that. Well, they don't want to include me. Nobody invited me to this meeting. Nobody said anything. And it's not like those people did it on purpose. It's just that they were just talking to themselves, but she felt excluded, and it triggered this fear, and then it spiraled into something else. So I say this to say, ladies, if you are in the workplace, this is important. This is important. Because when you understand how you operate, that's how you can control yourself. That's how you can manage your emotions. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I'm tired of the watery advices of that. Yeah, control your emotions. Yeah, right. Yeah, tell me how, right? So when you understand now that if I find myself in situations where I start to feel abandoned, there is a higher chance that I'm going to be unable to manage my emotions properly. There is a higher chance that my emotional IQ in that situation is going to be low. Why do you need this information? Now you can plan. Now you can be more strategic in the conversations that you're having, in the way that you're moving, whether it's in your career, whether it's in your personal life. You can be more strategic. You can get yourself ahead, and now you can start to take actionable steps, which is what I'm going to talk about next. Actionable steps to make sure that you prepare yourself to raise your emotional intelligence. I remember, what was it? I told you guys one story last week, but I remember when I had gone through my own transformation, I had learned how to regulate my emotion, regulate my nervous system, and, doing meditation, being mindful and stuff like that. I remember that I will go through this situation where I'm in a very stressful position, and all of a sudden now all the emotional intelligence tools I learned were out of the window. In fact, let me tell you guys one story. This happened recently, because I remember saying I was going to tell you guys, then I forgot. So I went to, my sister just gave birth, and I went to babysit my nephew while my sister was in the hospital. And I remember the first night, he didn't sleep at night. And because he didn't sleep, he came to wake me up, and I couldn't sleep back. It was like 3 a.m. And the next day, I had a presentation at 9:30 in the morning. I didn't sleep that night. And I'm just like, what's going on here? Yes, I love my nephew so much. They know, I'm their favorite aunt. I take that title anytime, any day. But I'm like, what's going on here? I volunteered to do this, but I did not volunteer not to sleep, And so during the day, my energy was low. I did the presentation, but usually what I like to do when I wake up is I just spend some quiet time with myself. I do some meditation. If I need to journal, I journal, then I work out, and then I go then I log into work. So that's my routine. But when I woke up that morning, I'm just my energy was so low. I think I managed to work out, but it wasn't for as long as I would have liked. And so day 2, my nephew saw me working out, by the way. That's how I remember. Day 2, the same thing happened. He didn't sleep. I'm there was no emotional intelligence in AB. I had zero emotional intelligence. I'm do I leave this child here? I cannot leave this child here alone. I need to sleep. And sleep for me is you guys, I don't think anybody has a personal love relationship with sleep like me. I need my sleep. So it was really, really hard for me. And I was just oh my gosh, this is what the moms are facing. My friend is yeah. I'm okay. Day 2, I have my droopy eyes. My nephew comes to wake me in the morning because I managed to get 20 minutes sleep before he got up. And he comes to tell me, says, Auntie, are you going to work out? And I say, I'm really tired. I didn't get enough sleep. So I'm just trying to catch a little bit of sleep. Then I'll work out later. He's okay. He goes to play. And I'm lying on that bed. And I'm just thinking, how do I escape this situation? I cannot leave my nephew in this house, but I need to sleep. And so in that moment, I did not want to meditate. No, I did not want to. What are some of the things that I tell you guys? I didn't want to calm down. Well, I had low energy anyway, so my energy was already calm by default. Okay? What else? I was lying on the bed. I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to work out. I just wanted to be left alone. That's all I wanted. Like, just leave me alone, you guys. I'm alone in this world. Leave me alone. That's all it was. And then it was a very humbling moment, because they say that things are easier said than done until you're in that situation. And so I remember I was lying on the bed. I was just like, oh my gosh. And then I asked myself, okay, AB, what do you need in this moment, right? I make breakfast for my nephew. I come back and I ask myself, what do you need in this moment? I pause. I remember I was lying on the floor, because I came down from the bed and I was lying on the floor, and I said, okay, I need to eat. If I eat, I might feel a little better. Okay? And I asked myself, I said, what else? I said, okay, maybe I can just do 5 minutes of workout. Not just because I want to move, but mentally, it puts me in a position where I know my day has started, and it makes me feel better. I said, okay, maybe I'll just like 5 minutes of workout, and then I'll eat. Okay? And so I put on my YouTube person that I work out with, and I do 5 minutes, and I notice a switch in my energy. I noticed that my energy starts to lift a little bit more. So instead of 5 minutes, I think I ended up doing 10 to 15 minutes of just, slow stretching and, just enjoying the moment. Okay? All this time, my nephew was downstairs. I think he was watching TV or something. And, I noticed my energy lift. And then I'm like, okay, let's go have some food, right? And then I go have some breakfast. My energy gets better. And all of a sudden now, I log into work, I start to feel much better. What were the two things that made the biggest change? And why am I giving you guys this long story? Because in that moment where all I wanted to do was run away and nobody should talk to me, the two things that brought me back to the state where I could feel like wanting to do higher level things, like meditating, like journaling. At that moment, I didn't want to journal, but like journaling, things that can help you regulate your emotions. The two major things were the things that were vital to my survival. The two major things were the things that were vital to my survival. That was eating so that I could get energy, and moving, which is what we call working out. And doing those two things changed the day for me. And so back to this whole how to raise your emotions and manage your emotions and stuff like that, you are much more likely to be able to have a higher level of emotional intelligence when you first of all address the basic survival needs that you have. Is this making sense? That's why I said the number one need needs to be looked at. Because if you don't address your basic survival needs, journaling will not help you. Well, long term it will. But in the short term, when you don't feel like it, you're not going to want to do it. What is the other things? Meditation will help you, of course. But in that moment where your survival needs haven't been met, you're not going to want to meditate. Because you don't even have the energy to do so. You don't have the energy to do so. Okay? So what is the first step? Knowing that, okay, I have a need to feel safe and secure, aka, if you look at it, it's survival. To feel safe enough so that you can survive, get out of survival mode. Make sure that you are doing the simple things to fill your basic needs. Eat food, proper food, not junk, not garbage food, not processed food. Real high nutrient food. Rest as much as you can. In the case that I gave you, well, I couldn't rest. But movement, even if it's 5 minutes, it will release specific, they call it neurotransmitters, but it will release specific hormones that will make you feel better. Your body has been designed to help you regulate your emotions. So take advantage of these things. Eat properly, move. If you can do those two things, whether it's just 5 minutes or 10 minutes of just moving, your body will start to reset itself, even in the survival mode. Even in the survival mode. So how do you use this when you are at work? When you notice that you're having back-to-back meetings, you're working with people that trigger you, you're working with people that stress you out, ensure that your basic survival needs are met. Because when they're met, you are much more likely to access the part of your brain that listened to Abby when she told you that your basic need your basic fear is a fear of abandonment. You are much more likely to be able to retain and remember that information when you have taken care of those basic needs first. And when you are satisfied and you enter those meetings and you notice that somebody did or said something that made you feel excluded or not part of the team, you can then access that part of your brain, the executive part that says, oh, right, so this fear I'm feeling right now is because I'm feeling left out. I'm feeling like I'm not part of the team. And so from there, you can start to slow down the emotions that are going to be formed or generated from that triggering situation. Do you guys see how all of this works? That's how you raise your emotional intelligence. That's it. It's that simple. And continuing to do this practice, your muscle, the pathways in your brain, okay? The neurons that need to be wired together to make this natural to you, they'll start to continue to get wired and they become stronger, and then it becomes second nature to you. You don't have to spend 1,000 years in therapy. You don't have to go on vacation all the time to regulate your emotions. Vacation is good. Vacation is always good. But you don't have to do that. Doing these basic things first will pretty much put you in a state where you can start to raise your emotional intelligence. Part of understanding you and knowing what makes you feel triggered is knowing that it's so that you also don't judge yourself. This is important. The women that follow me, you guys are what I call high achievers. And part of being someone who's a high achiever is that there's a lot of self-criticism that takes place. You look down on yourself, you tell yourself you're not good enough, you tell yourself you're not enough, you need to do more. A lot of women who follow me struggle with this. And it's a byproduct of being someone who's a high achiever. You have such high standards for yourself that even when you don't meet them, you start to criticize and look down on you. And it's almost like this rabbit hole where you remain stuck. So as you're doing this, as you're taking care and understanding how to raise your emotional intelligence, when you find yourself in situations where you lash out, you have outbursts, use those moments as teachable moments. Learn from them. I do this every day in my life. When you notice you're feeling triggered, pause. Why am I feeling so triggered right now? Pause. Notice where the feeling of the response is coming from. Why is my heart beating faster? Why is my belly aching? Why am I about to explode on this person? Pause. And then ask yourself, what is it about this person or the situation that is making me feel this triggered? Because it's never about them. I know it's easier for me to come in here and blame the workplace, blame the CEO, blame everybody else. It's never about them. They are just a representation of certain things in you that you need to release so that you can be free. It's never about them. This doesn't mean that you don't have terrible places, you don't have terrible people. That's irrelevant. There are people that are like that. But when you've done your own work and you've healed, you change that dynamics anyway. Whether that means that you leave the environment and go to a place that is more aligned with you, or they move you out to a team. Somehow, somewhere, the dynamics will change. Either way, you win. Either way, you win. Okay? So back to this whole thing. What are some of the things, now that you know that as a woman, you have a fear of being abandoned? What are some of the things that you can do to make sure that you release this fear? If you're not able to release it, you work with it. You work with it, you become aware of it when it's coming out, and then you can regulate, self-regulate. Bingo, and you become much more emotionally intelligent. Okay? The first thing, I've already done that for you, is giving you guys this awareness first. Second thing is not judging yourself when you start to respond to this fear. So if somebody left you out of a team meeting, they did not copy you in the email. Ooh. If I had a nickel or a dime for every time a woman has told me, they didn't copy me in this email, they didn't tell me, and they describe the situation for me, and I'm like, oh, that's, as I don't say it all the time, sometimes I do tell them, but I read the situation, I'm like, oh, that could be an honest mistake, but the woman doesn't see it like that. If I can give you guys I think I'll be rich if I had a dime for where that happened. So when that happens, when they leave you out of an email, they don't invite you to that meeting, somehow, somewhere where it feels you're being excluded, first of all, don't take it personally. Calm down. Check if you've eaten, check if you've rested, check if you've worked out, then calm down. If you haven't done all those things, go eat. Go move. Walk around for 2 minutes and come back. Don't respond to don't write an angry email in caps saying, you've done it again, you're always doing this, you don't want me to succeed, you don't like me. Don't write an angry email. Take 2 minutes. Go walk around. Go play. Go move. Go drink some water. And then come back. Give yourself space to feel the fear, release it, and then come back. Much, much calm, much, much cool, and then reread the email. Like, I remember, ladies, one day, excuse me, one day I didn't sleep very well. See, for me, sleep, I didn't sleep very well. So I was going to work, and I didn't eat properly too. And I noticed that, a request came to my desk to do certain things, to do some research and stuff like that. And my perception of the email was like an angry attack. Like, I thought they were targeting me, and I thought they were targeting my friend. And I call her, like, this is, don't do this. And she's like, okay, right? And then after I sit down, after I've eaten, the things that I'm telling you guys, I've eaten or come, I reread the email, and there was nothing threatening about that email. Nothing threatening. They were just asking a question. But because I was already in a state of survival, everything was a threat. Every single thing, the way they wrote the email, the font that they used, the color of it was black. But my brain said, why would they use black? Why would they use this font? Why would they put a full stop there? Things like that. It sounds crazy, right? But it's not. It's just your body trying to protect you. Because when you're under stress, everything is a threat. Everything is a threat. Which takes me to my next point. When you get that situation and you walk away and come back, part of the reason I'm telling you to walk away from the situation, move and go eat something, is so that your body can relax and come out of that feeling of stress. Okay? So check yourself. Are you finding that you're having stress responses? Is your heart beating? Is your heart or your stomach aching? Do you feel like your pace, the way you talk, is faster? Are you suddenly feeling so much anxiety? Those are signs that your body's under stress in that situation. Walk away. Stand up. Stand up. do something else to take your attention away from the thing that is causing you to feel stressed, even if it's just for 2 minutes. Studies show that it takes up an average of 5 seconds, breathing for 5 seconds to calm your body down. Yes, 5 seconds. So 2-second inhale, pause, 2 seconds exhale to calm the body down so it stops responding or seeing that specific thing as a threat and, of course, causing you to feel stressed. Okay, so that would be my step 3 is making sure that you are, as much as possible, staying in contact with your body and understanding what's going on internally. Because when that is happening, it's harder to control your emotions. I told you, you cannot control your emotions, but you can manage them. You can know what's going on. You can understand that this is a triggering situation for me right now. The best thing that I need to do is get up. The more you do that, the more your body gets used to that. Now, there are situations where it's not appropriate to get up. A good example will be when you're in meetings, and you're chairing the meeting, you're the leader of the meeting. You're not gonna get up. Can you guys imagine if that happened? Imagine if your CEO is chairing a meeting and then they just get up and leave, and everybody's like, huh? So I get that, ladies. I get that. Okay, let me take a sip, and I'll tell you what to do. Okay, so if you're in a meeting or a situation where it's not appropriate to get up, what do? You can actually trick your body into calming down in the presence of the triggering situation. The fastest way where you start to have control over that situation is to manipulate your breath, okay? When you start to feel triggered, you start to breathe much faster and shallower. The fast, short breaths to the brain means that you are in a threatening situation. So the longer you breathe and the deeper you breathe and the slower you breathe is a signal to your brain that you are safe. So in those situations, you can practice, I like to call it 2 seconds, but I believe it's actually called a 5-second breath. So you practice these breathing mechanisms. I use this a lot because I find myself in situations where it's not appropriate to stand up, or not stand up. It's not appropriate to leave as the triggering situation is happening. And so what you do is you just pause as you're feeling that rush that wants to say something disrespectful, condescending, that may make you look aggressive and difficult. You can usually feel that when it's coming out. So when you feel that, it's almost like pause. If you need to touch your mouth or something to kind of inform you that this is going on, do it. The trick I used to go with my water bottle into meetings. And so if somebody was watching me in those meetings where I would feel triggered, they would notice I would drink a lot of water. I would be drinking a lot of water. Me drinking water was my way of pretty much shutting down and calming myself down as I'm in the process of wanting to say a triggering response. That was my secret. I learned this from a mentor, and it works. And so I would drink my water. By the time I take a sip, my body has relaxed. Just taking that sip and swallowing the water, dropping the bottle, and sitting down is enough for me, is enough signals to my brain to calm down. You can use whatever is natural to you, but that's just a technique that I mastered and I've been using everywhere I go. And now I'm better at catching myself, taking a deep breath, and just pausing. I pause a lot. You guys will see it in my videos. I just pause. Do you know why I do that? I do that because those used to be my responses to stressful situations. So it became a habit of mine. Even when I'm not under stress or anything like that, now I take pauses, now I take sips, now I just slow myself down even when there's no need to. So that's I would say that's the downside of that. But, if it helps you, why not? Why not? Okay? So the next step is making sure that you're I talked about it. Start to slow down your pace in life. It will help you. It will help you. You will become in fact, it's almost, how do I say it? You will become such a different person that people will be like, wow, did she drop from heaven? Because your vibe will be so different. Look at the world. There's a lot of anxious women. There's a lot of anxiety, and I don't blame them. There's a lot of things to feel anxious about. You just being the kind of person that is calm naturally, people will pick that up like this. And you start to attract opportunities even without opening your mouth. I am a living witness to this. You will start to attract things to you even without talking, even without saying anything. Because people are reading your body language anyways, and they're using that to judge you. They're using that to judge you. Okay, ladies, I don't want this live to be too long, so I'm going to end it in the next 2 to 3 minutes. So I hope this training was useful to you guys. For the HR folks that are listening to me right now, okay, your job is, first of all, your job is to make the workplace a very safe and hospitable place for employees while maintaining the values of the organization. It's a very conflicting position because you have two people that want you to have your best interests at heart. You have your management and you have the employees. What you can do to support them in this kind of situation is putting out messages and trainings that can help them regulate their emotions. Okay? So fostering and almost, I would say, make this as part of the culture where if people are going into management positions, I'm going to tell you guys a story that I heard very recently and I was like, what? If people are going into management positions, especially women, but this goes for men and women, if people are going into management situations, let them have leadership training that addresses emotional intelligence. We are living in a time where people's emotions are on high. If you're in the States, with everything that has happened in the past 3 weeks with the elections, people's emotions are all over the place. And even though the workplace is not political, but the people in it have political views. And so being able to, especially now, people who are going into management positions because they're influential and they're managing teams, they need to have this training. They need to know how to manage their emotions so they don't lead people astray. So I've spoken to the women, so nobody write me a DM and say, AB, you didn't talk to the women and HR. I'm doing it now. But from a HR standpoint, it's making sure that they have the trainings that they need so that they can build these skills. Not everybody has or even knows about or even wants to, well, let me not say wants to, but has the initiative to go find trainings like this for themselves until they find themselves in hot fire. Yes, crisis situation is what usually causes people to seek out coaches like myself to help them. Okay? The second thing that I want to say is you are the ambassador for the organization. Like you are the face that employees see the first time they join them. So they're judging the organization based on how you're conducting yourself. It's a very tough position. I know. Part of helping and building a culture of high emotional intelligence is also embodying it as well. And so when people are reaching out, especially in many organizations, when people are reaching out to HR, it's usually because there's a crisis and they don't have anywhere else to go, so they have to come to you. And so you embodying emotional intelligence, how? It's maintaining calm under pressure. When they're telling you this situation that could cause or put the environment or the organization at risk, maintaining calm, making sure that they can trust you as they're telling you the full story, and just projecting that energy of, you can trust me, I'm here to help you. Okay? So that means that you have to manage your own emotional intelligence. Yes, but it's part of your job description, right? So those are the two things that you can take out of this is, how can I start to, or how can my organization start to make sure that, especially the people going into management, beginner managers, or even seasoned ones, this is a training that people have to learn and master every day because they're changing situations in the geopolitical space. So how can we make sure that when things like that happen, they have the training that they need so that they can have those skills to start the process, okay? And the second thing is, how can I embody it so that when they come to me or they come to my team, they feel safe enough to be able to start the process of resolving whatever the issue is, right? Whatever the conflict is, whatever the issue, but at least they feel safe and they feel like they trust you, okay? So I hope this was useful to you guys. If you're a woman in leadership who's needing help, you're in a crisis situation, whether you're feeling stressed out, you're feeling overwhelmed or burned out, feel free to reach out to me. Let's have a conversation on how we can get you out of that state so that you can continue to build influence and enjoy your time and the work that you've worked hard to get, right? Enjoy your role as a person in leadership, enjoy the respect, the money, the influence, and everything that comes with being someone in a highly visible role. And for the HR folks, if you're looking for someone that can help you create curriculums for emotional intelligence or anything about leadership development and wellness, feel free to reach out to me as well. But other than that, ladies and gentlemen, yes, because I do know some HR guys follow me as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, I will see you when next I see you. Bye.